Now, we've shown you the latest situation in Ukraine, but one community that's particularly vulnerable right now is the transgender community. Now, there are charities helping them, and we'll speak to one of them in a moment. But first, we are going to hear from Anastasiia. Now, she is a transgender woman who's chosen to remain in Ukraine. Many can't leave, though. They are at greater threat of violence under Russian occupation and are now struggling to get the essential hormones they need. I spoke to Anastasiia earlier, and I started by asking her what the situation is right now. Now, she was joined by a translator.
Ну, транслюди, в первую очередь, они стараются выжить, и поэтому...
So first and foremost, trans people are trying to survive. There are many people leaving Ukraine for the Western region. There are a lot of internal migrations and trying to survive the bombs. So there are also a lot of people, trans women, non-binary folks, and trans men who have male gender markers are struggling to cross the border, and that is a specific issue that's ongoing.
Да, я бы хотела добавить, что буквально с первого дня войны возникли сложности с...
So the second issue is that trans folks have run out of hormones due to scarcity, and so that's a parallel subject that has arisen during this time, and people are asking for help from trans and LGBT organizations, as well as just various organizations willing to help. They're asking for help for everybody.
You've been helping people who do need their medication as well, Anastasiia. How exactly have you been supporting people desperate for their pills, for the medication?
Наша организация называется «Когорта», и...
So our organization is called Cohort, and we have been helping them specifically with the medication. We've been able to get in touch with some organizations from abroad outside of Ukraine that have been able to send in some shipments of HRT and help us in this way. We also take pride in primarily helping folks through financial transfers. We send money directly to people's cards, and that way that people have the ability to purchase whatever they deem necessary for themselves. So that's something we're very proud of.
То, что им нужно, то, что им необходимо в тот момент.
So in this invasion, if Russia continues to take more territory, or in the worst case scenario, does take Ukraine, how worried are you for the risks for transgender people?
There are various dangers, and the risks are already existing, especially on the already occupied territories, because the war has been going on for 8 years, and in those territories, especially, the danger lies in, for trans folks, just the danger of violence, because their physical appearance may differ from their documents, and so with your documents can be checked on at any point by the military, by soldiers, and especially with special timed time where you can't go outside, and you're controlled and checked on your documents. And so if this happens, soldiers can feel very empowered by these circumstances, and at any point they can risk trans people are risking violence by existing there. So about 90% of trans folks have left the occupied territories.
Anastasiia, thank you so much for talking to 5 News. It's incredibly admirable what you are doing, helping, supporting people in Ukraine. Thank you again, and stay safe.
Well, thank you very much.
Joining us now is Matt Beard, who's the CEO of the charity All Out. And today they've launched a fundraiser to help charities like Anastasiia's. And Matt, you're in Bucharest, Romania right now, aren't you? I don't know whether you managed to hear Anastasiia's story, but she was saying that people from the LGBT community are risking violence, and 90% have now left the occupied territories, but they're still fearful.
Yes, absolutely. all Ukrainians are now facing an incredible elemental threat to their lives, their livelihoods, their families. But LGBT people are feeling particularly vulnerable at this time. Before the invasion of their country, there was some progress in Ukraine towards equality for all. It was very much a starting of that process. There was still a very, very long way to go. But now, the hopes and dreams of an emerging generation of LGBT plus people in Ukraine have really been cruelly dashed, because instead of that sense of increasing safety, dignity, and equality that was a real prospect over the next 5 to 10 years, they face instead the prospect of a Russian invasion that involves, according to State Department sources, potential kill lists of LGBT activists, and the kind of brutal homophobia and transphobia that we heard from Anastasiia and we've increasingly seen in recent years under the Putin regime.
Matt, that is incredibly shocking to hear. A kill list for those fighting for the rights of those in the LGBTQI community. When it comes to fleeing Ukraine and going to neighbouring countries or countries close to Ukraine, there in itself is another risk. What sort of risks could they face going to countries like Romania?
Yeah, so again, the risk for all Ukrainians exists in terms of extremely difficult and arduous journeys that many people are making, that we've seen day after day over the last month on our television screens. But if you can imagine trying to cross a border in a war zone with a passport that has a gender marker that doesn't reflect your appearance, those risks are significantly increased. It's really hard for people across the LGBT plus community to make those moves. And of course, when they arrive, they are arriving predominantly in countries where there are already significant issues in terms of the way that the LGBT plus community is treated. Yeah. Right here in Romania, where I am today, homophobia and transphobia are still absolutely rife. There is still no legal gender recognition. There's still no civil partnership law, and there's still quite a lot of societal homophobia. And so after that arduous journey, there still needs to be this reckoning with host countries where the welcome might not be as strong as it should be. Yeah. That's mitigated, of course, by the amazing partners that I've been visiting today here in Romania, partners of All Out, local LGBT plus community organizations who are just extending their love and their welcome to those incoming LGBT plus Ukrainian refugees.
Okay. All right, Matt, thanks very much for joining us, and good luck in your work over there. It sounds like it really is quite a horrific thing that a lot of people are going to be facing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.